Good morning and welcome to Redlands Coast Chamber of Commerce Facebook Live. A little bit different this morning. We're not talking necessarily stimulus or survival. We're talking about leadership and resilience. And we've got a really special guest for you today, and I hope that you really enjoy the Facebook Live. Share it with your friends and let's take some opportunity to invest back in ourselves. Before we go, I'd just like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the lands, waters and seas on which we are virtually meeting, the Quandamooka people. We pay respects to our elders past, present and emerging. Now, I'm going to introduce very briefly our President, Rebecca Young, as I go through some of our sponsors. I'm going to bring Beck into the stream. And of course, we'd like to acknowledge our naming rights sponsor, Bendigo Bank, especially for our breakfast series. We've got Wildcat Design, Redlands City Bulletin, Redlands City Council, McCarthy Jury Lawyers, Chan and Naylor Accountants, Barcella Restaurants, Think and Grow Business, Personalised Freight Solutions, TAFE Small Business Solution, Aegis Business Service, and the Australian Industry and Trade College. And for our Redlands Women in Business strategy, we've got the Redlands Centre of Women, we've got Home Instead, we've got Wildcat Design, Print Buzz, Beautiful Illusions, and Precision Loans. And with that, welcome back.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Tony.
Good morning, Beck. How's your week been?
Busy, very, very busy. Monday morning, we launched our second wave of survey to our community, to our database on Facebook, and we've had an amazing result so far. I'd like to encourage all of you to jump on, and we'll get the link up again today to take our survey to give our feedback to all the powers that be that make the decisions on our behalf in regards to stimulus.
Absolutely. So, Beck, I'm only going to put you on for a very quick time this morning. Before we get started, I'm going to introduce our very special guest. I'm going to bring him into the stream now, and we are very pleased to introduce Anthony Griffin. Now, Anthony's been a professional rugby league coach for 23 years. His illustrious career has seen him on the coaching staff of the Melbourne Storm, 2 grand finals, a premiership in the Queensland Cup, which I think was with Redcliffe, 6 out of 7 NRL final series as the head coach with the Brisbane Broncos and Penrith Panthers. Most recently, Anthony's helped guide Tonga to 2 of their best victories over England and Australia in the 2019 Rugby League Oceania Cup. Anthony's got 2 core values, leadership and resilience, which has stood him in good stead as he's built teams and clubs, often from the ground up. Now, Anthony's still got a fair bit going on in the rugby league world, although a little bit less than what we would normally have this time of year. And it's a real pleasure to welcome him to our Facebook Live today. Thanks for your time, Anthony.
No problem. How are you, Tony, Rebecca?
Good morning.
Now, Beck, I'm going to take you off stream if that's all right. So
absolutely.
All right. So, Anthony, welcome, and once again, really grateful for your time, and I hope that I know that we will have a number of people that will get some really good insight around some of the things that you've been involved in and some of the things that you're seeing. So we're certainly in trying times at the moment. I don't think any one of us ever planned for a pandemic. So what are you seeing within your networks and your clients at the moment? Actually, before I get into the questions, tell us a little bit about what you've been up to nowadays. Sorry.
No, that's fine. Well, as you mentioned, from a rugby league point of view, Tony, I'm still involved with the Tonga national side, and also do some consultancy to clubs and organisations across Queensland and New South Wales from a rugby league point of view. From a business point of view, I've kicked off a number of, I suppose, business streams. One just being a straight coaching and mentoring consultancy, which is built around those values of leadership and resilience. And I've been fortunate enough to work with some really great people over the last probably 10 or 12 months since I've been in that space. Hospitality, Marriott hotels, mining companies, government agencies. So it's been really diverse, and it's been a great learning curve for me. As we were speaking before we come on air, they're really trying times at the moment. It's really a unique situation that the whole world finds itself in, not just business. Everywhere across the world, everything seems to be changing, not just on a weekly or a monthly basis, but on a daily basis. So very trying times.
Very much so. Now, I connected with you on LinkedIn, and I've attended one of your boardroom series leadership events, which I found very insightful and really cool. It was just a good little event. Now, within your network, what are some of the things, and with your clients, what's some of the general fears or stuff that you're actually seeing with them? What are they talking to you about?
Well, everyone's obviously worried about their business, and there's an anxiety and a confusion out there because we are in an unknown space. No one knows where this is going to end or what the outcome's going to be. The government's talking about 6 months of shutdowns. And purely from a medical point of view, the virus is something obviously that the world's never seen before. We've had different pandemics and things that have happened in the past, but this one seems, obviously, as they do, unique to anything we've experienced before. So what I'm feeling in my network is confusion and anxiety about people with their business. I speak to some people in the hospitality industry, and they've just been absolutely crushed, Tony. 2 weeks ago, when the Prime Minister closed down that industry, it's forced a lot of people, literally overnight, their income stream has just stopped. So there's despair, there's anxiety, there's confusion. Hopefully over the last couple of days, with the results we've seen in the testing, there might start to be a little bit of hope. But that's basically what I'm feeling. I think it's probably the same everywhere.
Yeah, we're starting to see that curve and new cases start to reduce and flatten out. The old saying, flatten the curve. But and it's that thing around uncertainty is really critical because, most humans, and you'd know this as an elite sporting coach, you need routine. Players need routine. People need routine. So that level of uncertainty, that ability to be agile and flexible is really critical in this time. You've been involved in elite level sports, and that can be pretty cutthroat.
Yep.
You've had your fair share of crisis, I guess.
Yep.
We talk about the former Brisbane Broncos coach and the former Penrith Panthers coach, but that pales in comparison with the current situation. But during those times, you would have built up some attributes, no doubt. So what are you seeing within your own makeup that's helping you support yourself during this particular time?
That's a good question. And if I could talk about resilience, I think the longer term view you have of any situation and you maintain a belief in your own ability, the more long term you can think from a vision of where you want to go, it helps keep you on track. If you focus too much on short-term issues, whether it's from a football coach point of view, whether it's a result this week or a decision that you've got to make today, and you dwell on those too much, you can find yourself chasing your tail, so to speak. So what helps me at the moment is not to panic or to get anxious about the current situation, but to try and see through it from a long-term point of view. And this time will change. Obviously, at the moment, it's worrying, but it will change, and our world will change as well as the way we do business and the way we congregate and build relationships. Obviously, I think there's going to be a whole new world at the end of this, but it will change and it will get better. And at the moment, there's probably opportunities to change that have been put in front of us that we need to open our eyes up to and make sure that they're not being lost on us right at this present time. The other thing, Tony, that's really important for me is and I spoke to you about this at our meeting at the breakfast, is to be very mindful and just enjoy the day for what it is, and to let your ego go a bit. We'd all love to be out there doing what we do, and making money, or building businesses, or running sporting clubs. And at the moment, that's not possible. So, if you're trying to be overly optimistic and think, well, I need to be on top of this, sometimes that's just not possible. So, drop your ego a little bit, think long term, practice some mindfulness, and overall have a real belief in yourself and that you're going to prevail.
Excellent. When I spoke to you at the breakfast, I was sharing with you that two of my goals this year was to run the Tokyo Marathon and the Chicago Marathon. Now, Tokyo's gone, cancelled 2 weeks before, and Chicago's not looking much better at this particular stage either. And with that, from a personal perspective, you gear yourself up for something, and then all of a sudden it's taken away from yourself through no fault of your own. And I've had to work really hard to maintain some level of motivation to keep running and to keep cracking on towards at least remaining healthy. So what advice would you be given to your business clients in respect of that? You mentioned resilience. So how do you help them see the end game, I guess, or the big picture? What are some of the strategies that you use?
Well, again, getting back to what I spoke about, the first one is long-term vision. And we're going to get through this. I can't stress that enough. The world's going to go on. There's been world wars and financial crisis and medical pandemics like this before. And although in the current day, and probably not so much here in Australia, in Europe in particular, in the United States, it's terrible to see the death rates and the infection rates and the way that countries have just been completely shut down. But my advice is, first and foremost, is to believe that at some point in the future, and probably not as long as what some people are thinking, we're going to be through this and start to get back to a little bit of normality. And have that belief that what you've done in the past, we've all got some strengths, we've all got some ability that's brought us to this point in our careers, is still going to sustain, and you can build on that in the future. You might just have to be a little bit more agile, or welcome some more change or different way of doing business in the future. But we'll get through this. The important thing is that you don't break your heart at the moment. Being overly optimistic and letting anxiety overtake you.
Yeah, and once again, break your heart. That's a really good analogy for a lot of the businesses that we've been working with here in the Redlands. There is a lot of heartache and heartbreak because of the amount of work that they've put into it, and all of a sudden they through the pandemic have been forced to close or adjust radically their business model, which isn't providing them the level of income maybe that they would have liked. So as we come through, sorry,
Tony, I'd just say I'm certainly not suggesting that's easy to do as well. Just for the, personally, I speak personally. Like 90% of my business, both in the NRL world and the business world, has evaporated over the last 2 weeks. So I speak from experience. So I'm not suggesting that someone's had their business, closed on them, forced by the government restrictions, or just purely because the traffic's not coming through the front door or across their desk at the moment. I'm certainly not suggesting that's easy. They just sit there and think, I'll just wait and ride this out. But it's really important that you have a belief in yourself and your organisation, and that at some point things are going to be in a position where you can benefit from this experience.
Absolutely. The government likes to use the word hibernation. I personally like to think of it as a bit of a reset. So it gives us an opportunity to have a look at what we're doing, and potentially do a reset if required. So interesting. Yesterday, I spoke to a couple of people about crisis, and when we're in a crisis, everything's exaggerated. So if you actually don't have a really good business model, that's exaggerated within a crisis. Whereas if you've got a really good business model and a good solid stream, and you've got your cash flow right, and you've put away a little bit, you can ride out the bump. So it's quite interesting. So when we start to think about that, I'm interested in, you've had a real focus around development pathways in clubs. You did that with Redcliffe, for a feeder into the Broncos system. When you went to Penrith, you helped develop a stronger development opportunities and the academy that they put in place over there. So as we come through this and as we start to recover, what are some of those things that from your background around that development aspect that businesses maybe can put into play to help them come through and recover?
Getting back to, I think everyone has some strengths, and some of the organisations you spoke to me about before, or you just mentioned before, had an enormous strength in junior resources, and they had the money to develop those. So the strength of those businesses at times was a little bit underdeveloped. So my point there is that everyone's got some strengths to their business that has got them to this point. So I think it's key at the moment to really narrow your focus and as you said before, reset and find out what you're really good at or what has been your strengths and work on strengthening those strengths. Don't worry about the things that you're having trouble with so much, but find out what you do really well. And if I could draw a line through, the Penrith Panthers club, when I got there, what they did really well was they had a great junior base, and they had obviously enormous resources through their leagues clubs, financially, and so. But what they did well probably wasn't working to its maximum, to its highest productivity or ability. So, but it was a real strength of the business. So strengthen that strength first, rather than to give you an example, rather than at that club to go out into the market and try and buy players in. Strengthen what's already there. Develop your juniors. Produce as many players within your organisation. From junior players to NRL players, and that's what we did over the course of 3 years, and most of those guys, talking rugby league, your Nathan Clearys, Fisher Harris's, those type of guys are now rep players and are going to be the cornerstone of that business going forward for the next 3 or 5 years. So every business, if you get this chance now to reset, look at what you do really well, what your beliefs are, and what you want to be as a business, and there'll be a number of strengths or a number of things that you do really well that you can concentrate now on making sure that right now and when times get better, that they're stronger and better and able to take you into the new era.
Excellent. Great advice. Anthony, I'm going to bring Beck back onto the stream because our time is almost out with you. And once again, we really do appreciate your time today. Beck, what are some of those key points that Anthony's spoken about that I'm going to throw you on the spot that you've taken away?
I think that getting back to picking that thing and doing it well. I'm in international freight forwarding, and the company I worked for during the GFC really did that well. They had cranes, trucks, a wash pad, did a lot of machinery stuff. And when the GFC hit, they sold everything and went, you know what? We're just going to do freight forwarding. That's all we're going to do. So it's like this mix between looking for opportunities, but really just taking your core business and getting that core business done to perfection. It's like, don't lose the customers that you've got there. Get those customers, 100% right. But yeah, it's like this fine line between looking for opportunity and doing that thing that you do really well.
Yeah, and Tony, if I could just add on that, whenever you in rugby league, whenever you make a decision on what's best for your team or your club, it's the most important decisions you make are long-term ones, and they're the ones that sustain you and build you, and everyone that you work with, your staff, your players, can resonate with that, even if they don't get an advantage of it at the time. They understand this is the best thing for the long-term business of this team or this club. So I think if you can focus on your strengths at the moment, have a long-term view. Obviously, there's some short-term pain that we've all got to ride out, and that's where the resilience comes in, is being mindful and persistent at the moment and taking each day one day at a time. But if you focus on your strengths and have a long-term point of view, it'll help you get through these times and come out the other end and be a little bit stronger. You look back on this period and think, well, that really improved my business or my mindset.
Absolutely. Yeah. Now, Anthony, we do have a question for you from our one of our committee members, and it's from Adrian Reevely. He says, we all know you as a legend in the sport, and Aussies love the game of rugby league so much, but how do you think the game compares with the real football game in England?
Well, it doesn't. Obviously, from a business point of view, it's one of the biggest shows on earth, the EPL. I was just talking to someone about that the other day, and I think the NRL can take a leaf out of their book at the moment. Talking what Beck was talking about before, about finding out what you're really good at. The NRL is really good at running rugby league. It's a great television sport. Per minute, it's worth more than any other sport to a broadcaster in Australia. But we've lost our way a bit. Obviously, if you follow rugby league as a business model, we're almost insolvent at the moment. And this crisis has brought this on. And I think we need to get back talking about the NRL, about just making sure our product's good. People want to watch it on television and focus just on the football. Our bureaucracy, or the NRL, is blown out over the last 3 or 4 years, to the fact that, and the one example I've used, we have 450 full-time staff that run the NRL. The EPL has somewhere between 140 and 160, which is probably a business 20, 30, 50 times bigger than ours, but we've lost our way a little bit. So, yes, sure, we don't compare to the EPL on a worldwide basis. He's 100% right there.
Yeah, and then Adrian. Yeah, and Adrian, then it's just choice of preference. So there's some that prefer the oval ball, and there's others that prefer the round ball. So
that's right. Yeah.
I'll leave it with you, Anthony. We've really appreciated your time today. I know our business community will value this heaps. If someone does want to make contact with you and dive into that world of leadership and resilience, how can they do that?
Well, I'm on LinkedIn, and my contact details are on there. Or they can contact me on through my email, anthony.griffin, or griffin, ajm@gmail.com.
Okay.
So happy to, if anyone needs to have a chat at the moment, or we're all a little bit isolated, I'm happy to have a chat to anyone that thinks I can help them at the moment.
Excellent. We could add you to the 30-minute crew.
Yeah, that'd be a nice surprise for people.
Yeah, so we've had a bit of feedback there on the commentary. Great advice from Des. Thanks. Keep focused on the long term through the short term. And Ian Chestermaster, thanks, Anthony, for your insight. And it has been amazing having you here, Anthony. Really do appreciate it. When this is all over, the Chamber's got a real commitment to work with you in doing a leadership style event up here in I know you've come to the Redlands Coast virtually today. We would like to have you on the Redlands Coast and run a leadership boardroom that would be an awesome opportunity. So once we get back to normal, that's definitely your people will talk to our people.
That'll be great, mate. Look forward to it.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Anthony.
Okay, see you guys.
Take care.
Bye.
All right, Beck, how are you?
Good.
How was
awesome.
that? That was
fantastic.
Yeah. So, and something a little bit different. There's that much information out there at the moment in relation to everything that's going on. We've got a bit of information overload, and there were some real simple messages there, wasn't it? So focus on your strength, focus on the long term, and maintain that picture. And yes, there's going to be some short-term pain, but think about it from a long-term gain process. So yeah, fantastic.
And it is really hard in this environment to sometimes think that long term, because a lot of people are in that survival mode at the moment. So to even think past 2 months for some people is a little difficult. So yeah, it's just that constant reinforcement that, as Anthony said, we've got through wars, we've got through GFCs, we've got through recessions. That, you know, the world has gone on after these events, and to think past that, it's not easy. Like I don't take it for granted that people are having an easy time right now, but yeah, being prepared to drop the ego was a great comment. Is definitely true, isn't it?
Absolutely. And you know, one of the things that I was reminded of yesterday, I was listening to a video from one of my mentors, John Maxwell, and he was talking about the Y2K bug back in 2000. So if there's any computer guys out there or IT guys, you can imagine, go back to that time and the fear and the stress and the panic that was all in relation to the Y2K. I know New Year's Eve, Y2K, I was on call for my Bunnings store, and we were just expecting the world to stop.
Yeah.
And we got through that. So
I was a bit young back then.
Yeah, you were.
2000, I was partying on a beach somewhere, so I probably didn't even own my own computer.
So Beck, tell me what's happening with the chamber. So let's go back for a bit of an insight into what you've been working through with all the levels of government that you've got the enjoyment of working with. So
yeah, absolutely. And again, like every time I come on a live or a wrap up or whatever we're doing, I do congratulate our MPs in every day that I'm speaking to them and I'm presenting something new, a new case, that they are very responsive. Like, I'm not talking, oh yeah, thanks, Beck, we'll get to that. I'm talking within 10 minutes, whoever I'm talking to will get some sort of response from one of our MPs. Like, they've got hundreds of people that are messaging them every day, and they are so willing that if a business is in need to either pick up the phone, or I know for a fact that Andrew Lamming was on a plane yesterday, obviously going back down to Canberra, and I emailed him on a situation that one of our businesses had, and I know for a fact that he emailed that company from the plane. So these guys are doing a hell of a job, and whether for me, it doesn't matter how you vote. These guys are doing a great job of representing the Redlands right now, and we should be pretty happy with that. In regards to the council, voting is still not finished. So we still have no clear indication of who our representatives are. Yes, we do have some clear indications in certain divisions, but as a whole, we don't have elected council right now. So that's still ongoing, but we are still working in the background. We're working on bringing together an industry action group with the council, and that will be made up of a number of different aspects. It'll be small retailers, sole traders, big business, the three chambers. So that's Redlands Coast Chamber, SIMBI, and NSI for the North Australia. So they're just being really proactive in that. and the other initiatives around just what the Chamber are doing. So the things I mentioned on Friday night being the survey that's now launched, get in, have your say. The Zoom room that we will have information out on how you can access that, our 30-minute consultations, and even just our Facebook group, getting on, interacting. For the restaurants, telling us what's on the menu for dinner tonight. I get a lot of inspiration out of that stuff. My mum picked up a meal from Doug and Pearl last night over the road from her, and she bought it by our place just to show us, which was so mean, and it just smelled amazing. So if you want a night off of cooking, I saw a funny meme the other day about cooking, and this is my 14th night in a row cooking. If you're sick of cooking, get out and support one of our cafes or restaurants that are doing either takeaway or deliveries, and the group will show you who they are.
Yeah, excellent advice. And I think that as we move forward, we can't lose this support small business or local business. You know, we've got some momentum. We know people are doing it tough. And we're seeing this groundswell of support. And, you know, as a business community, we need to hold that.
That's right. By tradition, and I've been in the Redlands my entire life, Redlands people are proud people and supportive. And you'll see in the article in the Redlands bulletin on the paper, on the Chamber's survey, I talk about supporting small business that have foundations here in the Redlands. They've got deep roots here. And they are the businesses that are going to get through this and are going to keep our economy going. And that's why it's so important that we support our small businesses, because they're the ones that care about the economy in the local area. So that's why we need to support them.
Now, Beck, I'm going to get you to draw our lucky live prize. So, as you know, fantastic. we asked people to register for this event, and some people may have thought, it's a Facebook Live, why would I register? Well, you get a chance to win a lucky live prize if you register, and it just helps us maintain our process, our systems, and you know, in that particular time, it's really important. So, in my hand, I've got the people that have registered. You can't see them, so I'm just going to point, and you just tell me when to stop, and okay. I will. Okay, so
and you'll stop,
and I'll stop and pull that one out.
Stop.
Okay, the winner of the Lucky Live Prize, Adrian Reevely from Express Print and Sign. So I think
a fantastic question.
Yeah. So Adrian, I think we've got a bottle of wine for you. I don't know if you drink, so but I'm sure you might.
Then Adrian.
Yeah, you might have a friend or two after this is all done. So, all right. So, anything further that we need to talk about, Rebecca Young?
I don't think so. Keep your feedback coming. Reach out if you're really struggling. Please reach out. You know, honestly, our phones are on. It just sometimes all it takes is a conversation. We might not be able to help any redraw it. Adrian said.
Adrian's saying redraw, so yeah. I'm going to pull it out so he can't get it done again. All right, so let's try it again.
All right. Stop.
Okay, let me just open up my iPad again. So number 6 was it's a redraw, Beck. It was you. So all right.
Last one. Stop.
Okay. And that is Samuel Lynch from Elevate Acupuncture. So, Sam, thank you. You've got you're the lucky winner, Samuel, lucky winner of a Redlands Coast Chamber of Commerce bottle of wine. So awesome.
And a very deserving winner. Samuel is very well attended at our breakfast. So a nice bottle of Redlands Coast Chamber Syrah wine, that is.
And a shout out to Adrian for allowing that as a redraw. So thank you very much. So,
absolutely.
So any feedback, please pass them through the Chamber Facebook group. If you've got any particular questions or something that you'd like to see covered in these Facebook Lives, this is something brand new for us. We are just flying in some respects on the seat of our pants. So please let us know if there's stuff that you want to hear. It was really awesome today to get someone of Anthony's stature to have a chat with our business community. But if there's other people, I mean, we're just going to go out there and ask. So if there are some people, if anyone knows Mark Boris, let us know, because that would be a nice little one to have a chat with. So, but yeah, any feedback, please pass it through.
Absolutely. Right. Thank you so much, Tony. Appreciate it.
And have a great day.
Absolutely, everyone. Have a great day.